Like when we see, let's say, white people or black people, whatever, eating certain things, we'll be like, yeah, but they're white. Their body's different.
But it is true. It's you know this. I'm like I have a Chinese grandma, and what she eats is like she eats differently than I do. And also
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, yeah, do you have a smaller stomach than me?
I'm Sara Jane Ho, and this is Mind Your Manners, where no topic is off limits as we uncover the secrets to feeling at ease in every situation. Hey guys, it's me, Sara Jane Ho, and it's that time of the month again, where we're going to take a look at your questions and comments, and I'm going to pick some to answer. Last month's did really, really well. You guys were overwhelmingly engaged. And so we're going to make this regular. And you know what's funny is that as I was looking through the questions, like 80% of your guys' questions are about traditional Chinese medicine. We also have my producer, Kelsey, who's going to be chipping and chiming in.
Hi.
So let's get into it. Question 1. How can I reduce bloating? My stomach bloats with almost every food. Okay, so in TCM, bloating is a sign of disharmony between your spleen and your stomach, which are the two organs that are needed for your digestion. And they turn food into qi, right? Qi is the life force of your body. So when this system is weak or it's blocked by dampness or cold or all the other evil things in TCM, that leads to gas, distension, and bloating. So what can you do for that? Well, firstly, you should eat cooked, warm foods. Think congee. You guys loved my congee segment. Some of you asked, what is congee? Well, it's like a rice porridge, and it's delicious, and you can add different toppings. So congee, soups and stews, steamed veggies are all really good if you commonly bloat. Things you should avoid are anything cold, raw, so smoothies, salads, ice things, dairy, greasy, fried foods, all bad. And one of my favorite things for bloating is actually acupuncture. And in fact, a year ago when I did an egg retrieval, as some of you who've done it before know, you get very bloated. You almost look, well, you kind of look pregnant. And especially right after that egg retrieval surgery, like all this water's washed up and it's very uncomfortable. The day I got my egg retrieval, I literally got off the surgery table and walked directly to my acupuncturist and got on her acupuncture table. And for the following 10 days, every single day, and I was in a number of different cities around the world, I had my acupuncture just on my abdomen, and it really helped with bringing bloat down. Another great thing if you bloat is to...
Sarah, I'm going to jump in really quick because I feel like a good follow-up, most people don't know how to find a good acupuncturist. And I think you have briefly mentioned this before, but what is a good way in any city to find like a legit good acupuncturist?
You know what? I use Apple Maps.
I love that.
And Apple Maps has the ratings. I feel the ratings are pretty legit. Like I've had, well, first of all, I look at it. You can kind of know if something's dodgy or not, right? And if it has a lot of reviews, good ratings, I just go for it. And you know what? I've chosen a lot of acupuncturists who are not Chinese. One of my best acupuncturists was blonde. I love her to bits. So Apple Maps is a great way. Of course, if you have Chinese friends, you can ask them, or you go to a Chinese restaurant, ask people who work there. They almost definitely have recommendations for acupuncturists, TCM doctors, or Feng Shui masters. And you know, another fun thing that you can try if you bloat is to go for a walk after your meal. Chinese people have a habit of walking after dinner every single day. And this life practice is rooted in traditional Chinese medicine. In fact, there's a Chinese phrase. It's called 饭后百步走，活到99. And that means if after a full meal you walk 100 steps, you will live until the age of 99 years old. Amazing, right? There's like a Chinese proverb for everything. And this, you know, it's just the belief that gentle movement is the best thing you can do after a meal to help with digestion and reduce bloating and promote a healthy life. So if you go to China, and remember people in China eat dinner at 5 or 6 p.m., after dinner around 7 or 8 p.m., all the parks and gardens in China come to life with families, couples, elderly people walking. And you'll see little old ladies dancing even on like little plaza squares. And it's a very healthy lifestyle. Question 2. What Chinese herbal medicine can help with erectile dysfunction? Ooh, the ED question finally came. Well, so ED can come from blood deficiency, it can come from Qi stagnation, but mostly it comes from a deficiency of kidney yang energy. And we did talk about this in the episode on reversing gray hair, when we talked about, according to TCM, people get gray hair because your kidney is weakening, which it does with age. And so some of the symptoms will be low libido. In TCM, the kidneys store jing, which is your life essence, and they govern sexual function. So yang energy is needed for arousal and for staying hard. So what do we recommend? In TCM, if you want more yang energy, you should eat lamb. In fact, women, in the wintertime, Chinese women eat a lot of lamb because they know that it's warming. So if you need more kidney yang, lamb, beef, shrimp, bone broth, warming spices, so that's ginger, cinnamon, and garlic. And the things you should avoid are, again, cold and raw foods, excess alcohol, sugar, greasy foods, and even things like working late at night, overworking, and stress. Like, I'll bet that Elon Musk has a deficiency in kidney yang. Question 3. Hi, I just saw your video about not drinking cold-pressed juices. But what if the fruits and veggies were taken out of the fridge early and then no longer cold, and I also add a few ginger slices? Would that balance the shihan coldness? Wow, this follows question is like level 2 TCM question. Because remember, cold and raw fruits bring cold damp, and ginger is warming. So this follower is asking if that would balance it out. Let me just put it this way. Room temperature is better than cold. Warm is better than room temperature, and cooked is always better than raw. Question 4. I love your on congee as a weight loss food, but according to Feng Shui, congee is not lucky to eat if you want to attract prosperity since it's considered poor man's food. What do you advise? All right, that is actually true. It is considered poor man's food because it's inexpensive to make. It's not like abalone or something, which is or steamed fish, which is more expensive. So what we say is, if you're superstitious, don't eat congee on the first day of Chinese New Year, because the first day of Chinese New Year, or that first 7 to 10 days, sets the tone for the rest of the year. I'm trying to think if I eat congee during Chinese New Year. I don't really eat congee during Chinese New Year. I definitely eat congee afterwards because I gain so much weight during Chinese New Year that I then need to lose it. But you'll be fine. Yeah, so we say if you eat it on the first day of Chinese New Year, you'll bring poverty for the rest of the year. That was fun. That was like the first time there was a question incorporating Feng Shui and TCM,
I know,
right,
I like
Kelsey?
that. I like that. I'm like, I love, you know what I really love? I love that people, like, we're finally getting to this place with you. Like, you and I have played around with different things, but now it's like, no, everyone, like, is, like, honing in on this, like, the TCM, the Feng Shui. Like, I mean, you are so knowledgeable in all this stuff, and I just think it's fascinating. So I'm like, I love this.
And, it's funny because, obviously, my career for the past decade was in China, bringing Western etiquette, international etiquette to China. And now that I've made the move to LA in the West, it's like I'm bringing sort of ancient Chinese heritage and culture and secrets and wellness to the West.
It's so cool.
I'm vibing it.
Yeah.
Question 5. How do the Chinese feel about natural Greek yogurt? Okay, so in TCM, Greek yogurt it's kind of a double-edged sword. is some nutritional value, I'm sure, but the problem is that it's cold and there is some dairy in it. There's dairy in Greek yogurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that means it's cold and damp producing, which weakens your spleen, which then weakens your digestive fire. Remember, the spleen and the stomach are most important for your digestive fire, which then creates qi, which is life force. So if you're going to eat Greek yogurt, which, hey, at a hotel brunch, I definitely indulge in that every now and then at a breakfast. Let it at least go up to room temperature, or pair it with warming ingredients such as cooked pears or apples, walnuts, or goji berries. And if you bloat easily or if you have phlegm or sinus issues, TCM says stay away because dairy is one of the worst things for phlegm. Question 6. Is there a maximum number of red dates that I can have in a day? Yeah, what I realized, so since coming out with my little daily drink that I do every morning and that I had this morning as well, which is red dates, goji berries, and ginger, there were so many comments below that post on Instagram that were like, how many red dates should I use? How many red dates should I use? And guys, you saw the video, like you saw how many red dates I use. If you're going to have red dates every day, I would say the max is 3 to 5 a day. If, let's say, you're sort of doing it in one sitting or you have a specific purpose, like a healing purpose that you're going to take the red dates for, then I would say max 7 of them. Remember, there are also different sizes of red dates. There are little ones and big ones. But the reason there should be a cap is because red dates are sweet and they're very rich. And so excess consumption can actually worsen like if you have existing internal heat, having too many red dates will affect that. How do you know if you have too much heat? Well, acne, dry mouth, and a bad temper. If you're easily irritable, that's all excess heat. Now, you're probably wondering like, oh, what do you mean when you say, using red dates specifically for a nourishing purpose? That would be postpartum. Chinese women love to use red dates postpartum or like post-menstruation, right? When you've lost a lot of blood and you need to 补气, you need to re-nourish that blood. Question 7.
Wait, hold on. Before
Yes,
7.
Kelsey.
Only because I Googled it last time you talked about it, but I didn't understand that a red date was like not a normal date.
Is it not a normal thing? A normal date?
No.
Oh.
So like, I think for those listening, like what is a red date? Like it's not just like the normal dates that I would buy at Trader Joe's or whatever.
Yeah, because those dates are more black, right?
They're like brownish and they're
brown.
really sweet. Like what are yours?
So red dates are, it's funny because, I've only known red dates. I actually don't think I've ever purchased like
the different kind
of
That's
date.
funny.
And so red dates in Mandarin, they're called hongzao. And another name for them is jujubes. So they're dried, right? So us Chinese, we use them dried. And the outer shell, it's kind of actually hard to penetrate the outer shell, and it's red, and inside there's a seed, and because it when it's dry, the outer skin is quite hard. I like to cut them in half before I soak them, throw them into water or into soups or into congee so they can absorb better.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like I found them on Amazon, so I'm going to order them.
Yeah, and a lot of people were actually asking like, oh, which one do you use? I don't have a brand that I'm wedded to.
Interesting.
In China, there is no kind of like red date brand. It's more about the location of where they're produced. So, for example, Xinjiang in China, which is like sort of a very environmentally clean area, they produce very good red dates that are very big. I think when I did the video, like some followers, they were like, "Oh my God, there's a huge red dates." But then here in LA, I go to the farmers market on Melrose Place, and one of the booths there run by Persians, and I was like, "Oh, great!" Like, I realized a lot of Persians use very similar herbs to Chinese.
Interesting.
And so,
It's very holistic.
Very holistic, and they had red dates, and so I just bought red dates from her. And I've also bought red dates on Amazon. Like, you can find anything on Amazon.
Dang, you really can.
You can.
I'm like, I don't know if that's scary or okay.
Okay, question 7. How often do you visit your TCM practitioner? Remember, there are different kinds of TCM practitioners. I have different practitioners for different things in different cities that I go to. My TCM practitioner I see the most is Dr. Kim, who is in Koreatown in LA, and it's for acupuncture. He also does herbs, but I go for acupuncture, and I go, I would say, 2 to 3 times a week when I'm in LA to regulate my period, because my period's all over the place. Well, it's just irregular. It's usually late. And I like to go in the morning or during the daytime. You don't really want to do acupuncture at night. You want to do acupuncture when your yang energy is at its highest, which is midday. Because later on in the day, you should be more yin, where like you should be calming the body down, and you don't really want to do acupuncture because that, creates more circulation and all that in your body. So acupuncture is something I do religiously. And it's also easy because I don't have to mix herbs and eat herbs. The thing with I would say once a quarter I take herbs, whether I'm in Hong Kong or Shanghai or LA, and usually the herbs I do for about 2 weeks. The thing is, when you take your herbs, you have to follow a strict diet. When you're taking Chinese herbs, like especially in soup form, and actually technically even when you're doing acupuncture or moxibustion or all the other stuff, you should not eat spicy food. You should not eat beef, no seafood, no dairy, no alcohol. Again, you're probably noticing a trend here, right? Like all these foods cause inflammation, and that leads to illness and imbalance and harmony. So, I do acupuncture 2 or 3 times a week. I do herbs once a quarter, and then when I'm in China, I often get moxibustion done. I also go to bone setters, so, get my back and neck and spine cracked. What else do I do? And then I do some stuff at home, like I'm drinking my little recipes. I'm doing a foot soak. Yeah, it's just part of my lifestyle. And it's important for you to know what works for you, right? Like you have a different lifestyle. You probably, if you have kids and you're doing drop-off for 3 kids, then it's probably harder to go to your acupuncturist three times a week. Yeah. Or maybe you don't feel like you need to go 3 times a week. So it depends on the issues you have with your body that you're looking to improve and what works in your routine. Question 8. How does TCM view cancer? So this is interesting. Cancer as a term doesn't really exist in traditional Chinese medicine. Not in the same way that cancer is a term in Western medicine, because TCM views illness through a completely different lens. Western medicine defines cancer as uncontrolled cell growth, right? And you think about the tumor and you think about the part of the body. So you say it's breast cancer or lung cancer. In traditional Chinese medicine, it's more about disharmony in the body. And oftentimes, TCM doctors will use the Chinese word du, which means toxins or poison in the body. And so they say, we're doing this to pai du, so to get rid of toxins in the body from, but they don't, we later on came out with a word called 癌症, which means cancer, but only as a response to the Western system's version of cancer. So TCM, we don't diagnose by tumor type. We focus on imbalances in qi, in yin and yang, in organ systems. So instead of saying cancer, your TCM doctor might say something like, you have liver qi stagnation with blood stasis and phlegm accumulation. I know, sounds like a riddle.
Both my parents had cancer multiple times. And so,
Wow.
And my mom was very holistic. And
before getting cancer, she was really holistic?
Very, very. And so she would always do and even she would always be like, Western medicine will save your life, but Eastern medicine is actually going to make you feel better and heal you and also get to the root of things. And I feel like that's very, that's Chinese medicine too. It's it gets to the actual root of things where yes, the Western medicine got the tumor out, but they Band-Aid it, right? And I feel I don't know. I think that.
Yeah. I mean, look, listen, not
just
to say that one system is better or worse than the other. I often use both.
Both. That's what I mean.
I'll do my screenings on Prenuvo,
Yes.
and then I'll.
Have you done that?
Yeah, I did Prenuvo a year ago
Yeah.
in New York City, and I just plan on doing it every 3 years, just as like a maintenance. Again, I use it as a prevention tool. I've heard that actually a lot of doctors do not recommend Prenuvo.
It's also tough because it's so expensive and it's just like not attainable for most. But
true, but I think it is worth it. And I've also heard, and I hope I don't get cancelled by doctors for saying this, because I do say a lot of things that could get me cancelled, as Kelsey, as you know. But
you say it with a smile, so you can't cancel you.
So think about it. Like, how do doctors make money? Like,
I'm telling you,
they make money when you're
illness.
sick.
Yep.
And so the interesting thing with TCM doctors, like even my TCM doctor, he'd be like, yeah, just take these herbs just take them for 7 days. And I'll be like, no, I want them for 14. And he'll be like, no, just take them for 7 days, and then we'll see if you need it. Like,
Yeah.
So I've heard Western doctors do not like Prenuvo because, I mean, and this is controversial, obviously, but a lot of Western doctors may not necessarily be motivated for you to have a lot of prevention. You know what? I'd love to get a camera on you and your setup there.
Yeah. Like
should we go get him?
Producer by the desk.
Yeah, because I kind of like you there with like this situation.
It's very Howard Stern.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. My stepson wants a PS5.
Oh.
Telling his mother, I'm like, no.
Fuck no. That's honestly, I will say, my guy friends, who are my like smart guy friends, the only reason that they're not gamers. I'm like, I think gaming is like absolutely fuck no.
Okay, so
that's hilarious.
I kind of like you with your thing on.
You like the headphones?
Yeah. It's very producer.
Cute.
So I like to use both.
Right. Well, and that's kind of why I wanted you to repeat it again, because I do feel like it's something that people need to hear. But crazy, and this is like out in the internet, out in the ether web. So I'm not spelling any tea. But when I worked on Maria Menounos' show and produced her show, she actually had gone to the doctor for something, and the Western medicine didn't catch what Prenuvo caught. So she went to Prenuvo, and there was like a little tumor on her pancreas.
Wow.
So,
and I have so many friends who
Western medicine healed, or like helped take out the tumor. So it's like both. What were you going to say? I steamrolled you.
Yeah, I know so many stories like that too, like of, Prenuvo catching stuff.
Yeah,
it should be like an ad for Prenuvo.
No, I know. I'm like, give us free shit because Prenuvo is expensive. Sorry, I'm lowering my mic.
In TCM, if you have cancer or if you have toxins in your body, the first thing you should do is you should cut, again, all those foods that I mentioned, right? So it's like, in fact, if you have cancer, you should not even eat red meat. You should not eat any seafood, no sugar, no dairy, no alcohol, nothing spicy, nothing fried, because again, all those cause inflammation. If you have cancer, you basically should just eat steamed veggies and rice and like vegetable soups.
Crazy. That's so crazy. I feel like the meat, though, there is something like meat is so hit and miss, right? You feel like for sure no meat.
Well, I mean, if you have cancer, for sure no meat.
Dang, that's nuts.
I know. I mean, listen, I went for a couple weeks being vegan after watching
same.
What was that Netflix show?
I know. Not Blue Zones, but
yeah. Game Changes.
Oh.
And I mean, I see, I mean, but then it was just so hard, and now I'm like a full-blown meat eater again. I love my meat.
But I also think too, and we're getting a little off topic here, but like I was vegan for 2 years, and I got really sick because my body, and like that's the whole thing of like eating for your blood type. Some people need meat, some people don't. I really need meat. Like I function better with like protein and with like meat. Same. I was super sick when I was vegan. It was really interesting. But then like I have friends who don't eat meat and they're fine.
Right.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Everybody's body is a little different, and even in traditional China, it's so funny. Chinese people, like when we see, let's say, white people or black people, whatever, eating certain things, we'll be like, yeah, but they're white. Their body's different.
but it is true. It's this. I'm like, I have a Chinese grandma, and what she eats is like she eats differently than I do. And also sometimes I'm like, yeah, do you have a smaller stomach than me? Because I feel like she eats less than I, and maybe that's just Chinese culture.
That you can train yourself to do.
Yeah. Anyways, but but that it goes back to what you're saying, and I just want to say this again. Like, everybody's body's different, and like you have to do what's right for you, which is what you had already said that.
Yeah. All right. Question 9: is there a version of cold water plunging in TCM? Who should and shouldn't do it? Okay, so for Chinese people, when we see white people doing cold plunges, we're just kind of like
When we
shock,
see white
shock,
people.
horror. You got like all the best to you. You do you. Of course, Chen and Mao was famously doing cold river swims in the depths of winter. And even until like he was in old age. And it became the symbol of vitality and masculinity and strength in the 20th century, not dissimilar to like Putin riding wild animals today in Russia. But TCM views plunges as bad for your body, especially for women.
Really?
It's not as bad. I mean, it's still bad for men, but men have more yang energy. Remember, like yang is the masculine, the strong, yin is like the soft, the feminine. But even for men, doing cold plunges can deplete their yang energy. And remember what that means. Like depleting yang energy means low libido, erectile dysfunction. But for women, it's actually never okay. So I know cold plunges have been trending in the West for recovery and inflammation, but for women, it is the worst thing you can do to your womb, to your uterus.
Well, because it closes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, because cold damages the uterus, and we actually call it 寒入子宫, where we say like cold invades the womb, because your uterus is a delicate and warm organ that needs to be nourished with blood and qi. So if you let cold invade the uterus, then all these feminine health issues will come, like irregular periods, menstrual cramps, blood stasis, infertility, a lot of this stuff. Question 10. Is pearl powder good for collagen production? So pearl powder in Mandarin, we call it 珍珠粉. And in TCM, pearl powder, it doesn't boost collagen in the sense of like having a collagen supplement, but it does help brighten your skin and it helps with cell turnover. So yes, it does make you look younger. The key is to choose high quality, medical grade pearl powder, which is free of heavy metals. And you take just a pinch of it and you mix it in with warm water or milk, or you can even put it on your congee. And you can combine it with things like goji berries or red dates, again, if you want added skin support. But the key is to not do too much. So I would say max 2 to 3 times a week, and avoid if you're pregnant or if you have a cold, damp constitution.
So that's interesting. I have to jump in really quick because there was this brand that became super popular called Agent Nature, that their collagen, their marine collagen, they sold a bag for $100. It was tiny, and it was $100 because it was marine collagen mixed with pearl powder. And that was her whole thing, was that the pearl powder made it this next level collagen. And it's funny because I'd never heard of pearl powder until that. And I was like, it's just funny how trends work, because then I think all of us were like, do we need pearl powder?
Yeah, well, that's a TCM. That's a TCM thing.
That's crazy.
Huh. Question 11. I always have phlegm in my throat. What can I do to get rid of it permanently? That's actually a great question, because a lot of people do have phlegm in their throat. And oftentimes when we get a cough and then we have phlegm, sometimes the cough will go away, but then we'll have phlegm for like weeks, especially after COVID. So the first thing with phlegm is you have to identify the color. Is it clear and white? Is it thick and yellow? Is it green? And what I love about living in China is that all the pharmacies in China, they have these little TCM tonics, and they have ones that are focused on lung clearing for phlegm. In Mandarin, it's called Qingfei, 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 so clearing the lungs. And usually when I go and I buy them, they're kind of these like, and this is why you guys should watch the YouTube video, because I'm like kind of describing what it looks like right now. It's a long little box, and when you open it up, it has like 10 tiny little bottles that are the size of your finger almost, and they're glass. And they usually the liquid inside is like black or something. It's herbal, and then you stick a straw inside and you just suck on it. And I like the liquid ones the best because it really goes deep down into, and you can just feel it. And basically, within a week, usually you take like 2 a day or something, and within a week, your phlegm will all be cleared. But again, remember, it's very important. It doesn't work if you're like taking this tonic, but then at the same time you're eating spicy food or you're eating sugar or you're having dairy, right? You have to eat really, really clean because dairy, especially milk, and sugar for sure will exacerbate your phlegm. They actually create phlegm. So for me, even when I get a cough, even if it's a dry cough, I make sure I avoid dairy. I avoid chips, or I avoid sugar, because I know if I have those foods, the next thing that's going to happen is it's going to develop into a phlegmy cough. And that's harder to get rid of, as well as cold drinks as well. And ice cream, basically anything cold. Okay, question 12. Can you please confirm if we can eat bananas during our period? This is a big belief that my mom won't let me do. Well, guess what? Mother knows best. In TCM, bananas are generally not recommended during your period, especially if you tend to have cold hands and feet, menstrual cramps, fatigue, light or delayed periods. And that's because in TCM, bananas are considered cold in nature, which in Mandarin we call 寒性, and they're damp producing. So for me, I actually avoid bananas, anyway. But when you're on your period, a woman's body is actually more sensitive and more exposed. So it's important to support the flow of qi in the blood by keeping the womb warm and avoiding cold-natured foods like bananas, which will slow down your blood circulation, it'll worsen cramps, and it'll lead to bloating and digestive comfort because it weakens the spleen and stomach. Remember, the spleen and stomach are all important.
Wow.
Question 13. Do you still go clubbing? Isn't that funny?
I'm like just coughed and choked by that
This was a question someone sent me because I posted a story. I reposted them in my stories that mentioned a recent study proved that clubbing once a week is good for you.
Hell yeah.
And also that house music, the frequency of house music, is healing for your body.
Please don't tell my boyfriend this because that's all he listens to in the morning.
Okay, well,
he loves
in the
house
morning?
music. Oh,
that's
yeah,
intense.
It's horrific.
Well, so I'm a Sagittarius.
Yes.
I'm a party girl.
Yes.
Love clubbing.
Yes.
And I do actually, in Hong Kong, I think I first went clubbing when I was 16 years old in Hong Kong. We start pretty early. Like we go to bars.
Can I ask a stupid question? What's the drinking age
18.
there? Oh, 18, okay.
But nobody really checks it.
Interesting.
And that's also because in Hong Kong, nobody really binge drinks. I mean, for sure we got drunk and we were silly, but it's not the level of binge drinking in the U.S.
Sure.
And in a lot of I think the U.S. is the only country that has a 21-year-old drinking age limit.
I think so too.
And I do think that causes more binging. Hey, I mean, who am I to say? But
Sarah for president.
I know, exactly. But so I now, in my 20s, I would club a lot. Once I started, I kind of had to buckle down and be serious and started my etiquette school in Beijing. I cut down on the clubbing, mostly because I had to wake up early and teach in the mornings and really be on my A game. And I guess it also didn't look good for an etiquette expert to look like she was a party girl. Now the funny thing is, and that shows you kind of my insecurity back in the day and how, 10 years ago, 10 years ago in China starting my business, I definitely felt like I had to look a certain way. I had to dress a certain way. I had to put makeup on every day. I had to get my hair blown out every day and not be known. I had to keep it a secret that I like to go clubbing. But now I'm just so much more comfortable in myself that I've realized people will, it doesn't you can create your own definition of yourself. So I can be an etiquette expert who loves to go clubbing. I can be an etiquette expert who breaks up with her boyfriend over text, which was like a New York Times style profile headline.
Really?
Yeah, it would.
Oh,
in January
my God.
2023.
That's iconic. But also, let's
He
be
deserved
clear.
it. His ex-wife broke up with him divorced him by email and CC'd his mother. I don't know. Is that considered evil speech after the David Guillaume Kabbalah episode?
I don't know.
But I don't name him, so people may not know.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
He's
fine.
fine. But I also want to say too, let's be real with clubbing. You're dancing, you're having you're smiling. It's not like I think clubbing gets a bad connotation because it's oh, you're going and doing drugs and all this shit. No, that's not necessarily true. You're moving your body, you're with your friends. It's
A lot of times I'm not even drinking when I go clubbing.
Right. You're just dancing and having fun.
A good time.
Yeah.
And what's funny is because my husband is 14 years older than me, And on our first date, I actually asked him, because on our first date, I'd gone out. Okay, so I just completed 14 days of hotel quarantine in a hotel room in China.
Oh my God.
Okay, in Shanghai. And he had been like, when do you get out? Like, I'd love to take you out for dinner as soon as you get out. And I got out on a Friday, but I wasn't going to go on a first date with some guy. I just been cooped up for 14 days. I wanted to go clubbing. So I was like, let's have dinner on Sunday. And then on Saturday night, I went out super hard with my friends, like to the point where I came home like hugging the toilet bowl kind of situation. And I was so nauseous all of Sunday. I was like, should I cancel? But then I thought that'd be really bad because he came from another city. He came from Hangzhou to Shanghai to take me out to dinner. And so we're at dinner on the Bund in Shanghai at this lovely like crab restaurant, Hairy Crab. I love Hairy Crab. And we're talking, and I'm like having trouble focusing on him because I'm still nauseous. And then I kind of just said, I have a question. Do you like to go out? And you can imagine he's like this at this point. He was a 50-year-old Chinese businessman. And he looked at me and he said, no, I don't really go out clubbing, no. And then I was like, okay. And then there's a couple seconds of silence. And he said, well, actually, once a year, it's important to go all out. And I was like, whoa, this is super. I was like, I think this can work here.
That's funny.
And in China, I split my time between, well, every time I go back to Asia, I go to Hong Kong. I see my dad and my stepmom and my cousins and them. And I go to Shanghai, and I still have a small team in Shanghai and my setup there. And I also go to the countryside, which is my husband's hometown. And it's a beautiful little 3.5-tier city called Lishui, Lishui, Lishui. And it's in Zhejiang province. And it's known for, well, they call it Qingshan Lishui, like green mountains and clear waters. And you can be swimming in streams that look like parts of Italy or Switzerland. Like it's like crystal clear blue streams. It's beautiful. But when I was there initially, I go to bed at like 9 p.m. because it's like the countryside. And my husband loves to entertain and socialize, but I was like, okay. And then one day at dinner, one of his guy friends was saying how he was going clubbing after dinner. And I was like, wait. I was like, brother Zhu, because that's what you, how you like, they call me little ho, like xiao he. Like, because I call, you call people like brother or sister, kind of, it's like a Chinese honorific thing. And I was like, brother Zhu, do you say that you're going clubbing? Are there clubs in Lishui? And he said, yeah. He said, yeah, I go clubbing very regularly. I love house music. And I was like, wait. Like, we're going. And so now in China, I regularly go clubbing, and my husband comes with me every single time because he knows that I like it. And
I love that.
It's really, really sweet. It's very, very funny. So
you were just home. Did you go?
I did. Yes.
And he came with you?
We sang karaoke as well.
Wow.
And it was so fun.
I love that.
Okay. Question 14. Shoes on or off on a flight?
Oh.
Etiquette question.
These are good questions.
Yeah, I finally got an etiquette question. So I know this is controversial. It really depends on your feet. Like, do you have good feet? Are you hygienic? Are you a hygienic person?
Or socks, right?
Right, and socks.
Okay.
So, I mean, you always see like that one like American bro who takes his shoes off and he's like has bare feet and he's like rubbing his toes together or something like that. But assuming you don't have smelly feet, assuming you keep your socks on, and sometimes, oftentimes, at least Asian airlines will provide slippers, then it's totally fine. On long hauls, I take my shoes off all the time. But, I'm very hygienic and I have clean feet. Question 15.
Wait, hold on. I have a follow-up.
Okay.
Flip-flops or sandals on a flight? Yes or no?
I really think it's much better to have. I mean, flip-flops, I just think in general, like, no to flip-flops now.
Me too.
And I do have older friends who they kind of lament the time of when, like, people would dress nicely on planes. You always see that, like, elegant older couple and he's wearing a sports jacket and khaki pants or something.
Yes.
And she's, she's looking very presentable. So I think, there is a generation that laments that. I don't really dress up for the plane. I'm about comfort first, but I usually am wearing all black, actually. Yeah. I'm usually like black pants, black sweater, black Tumi bag, black carry-on.
I'm the same.
Black cap,
Yeah.
black mask, because I actually religiously wear masks on every single plane or train now, which my husband teases me for, because he said that during COVID I refused to wear a mask. He's like, when everybody's wearing a mask, you didn't. And now nobody wears a mask and you do. And I was like, that's why I never get sick.
It's very Sagittarius of you. Anti the rules. You make your own rules.
So, yeah. So,
So no flip-flops.
Yeah, no flip-flops. Okay. Question 15. Is it a coincidence that I see you in an interview with David Guillaume and I just completed level 2 of his online course, Infinite Soul? I too am finding so much alignment with Feng Shui lifestyle and in the realm of energy with Kabbalah. Yeah, so those of you who listened to episode 11, which was Kabbalah as a wealth code with David Guillaume, who's my spiritual and Kabbalah teacher, which you should definitely watch. To me, it's like one of the most incredible episodes that we've done on this podcast to date. And I realize as a Chinese person, there are actually a lot of similarities between Feng Shui and Kabbalah. Neither is a religion. Both talk about energy and spirituality and how life is shaped by subtle, unseen energy and show us how we can work with this energy to improve our lives. In Feng Shui, the energy is called qi, which is the invisible life force that flows through everything, and the goal is to optimize the qi, the flow of qi in your environment so that you will have better harmony, health, and prosperity. Now, in Kabbalah, it teaches that the universe is composed of divine light, which is spiritual energy from the Creator, and that our purpose is to receive and channel this light through our thoughts, actions, and environment. And I think that's why I've been so drawn to Kabbalah, because I already have a foundation of Feng Shui, and so Kabbalah just is so familiar and easy to me, but at the same time, opening my mind to like, it's almost like a wider understanding of energy. The two are actually very complementary. And there are a lot of similar sayings, like when you give your wife whatever she asks for, like then the husband will receive double the blessings. And even things like whatever in Kabbalah, they say whatever you look at enters your soul. When I learned that, I was like, oh my gosh, because in Feng Shui, me and my dad, whenever we drove past a car accident, sometimes you just want to look, right? My dad would say, turn away, don't look. Otherwise, whatever you see will be recorded on your own spiritual account.
Ooh.
Right? And I was like, okay. And so there are so many similarities between Feng Shui and Kabbalah, and I just love them both. So last question, guys, because, we've been yapping away here and really like running out of time. Question 16.
But having so much fun.
I know.
These are good questions.
So question 16, this is more of a comment, actually, and I really loved it. It was on, because I have my YouTube channel, Sara Jane Ho, and I put all the podcast episodes on the YouTube channel as well. And this was a comment left on the David Guillaume Kabbalah episode. And my dad actually sent me this comment. I'm a Saggy. I like post and ghost. I don't really look at the comments unless I have to prepare them for like this kind of episode. My father is a Virgo. He, watches every episode from top to bottom, and he combs through the comments, and he will screenshot and circle and tell me which ones that he thinks I can learn from to give me feedback. And he sent me this one, and actually I'm really glad he did because it's so beautiful. This comment says, "It's so beautiful to hear the word former wife. I use the same phrase for my former wife, and David is the only other person I've heard do the same. It's a small detail, yet it speaks volumes. When we say X, it sounds like axe. Sharp, dismissive, even bitter. Like something has been chopped off and discarded. Former, on the other hand, holds a quiet dignity. It acknowledges that the relationship existed, that it played a meaningful role, and that it came to a natural end. It is not erasing the past, nor does it carry the baggage of resentment. It simply says, we shared a chapter, and that chapter is now closed with respect. There's something graceful, even healing in that word. It allows for love to have existed without needing to cling to it, and for parting to have happened without needing to resent it. It's rare to hear, but when you do, it reveals a person who has made peace with their past, and that to me is a beautiful strength." Wow. I mean, I think that's like the best comment that's ever been left on my YouTube channel.
It's beautiful.
Forever.
And I'm really curious, what was your dad's, like, what did he say about that?
Well, let's see what my dad said about that.
Also, my dad has a Virgo moon, so I understand this very deeply.
Oh, yeah. So, what did he say? Oh, wait, interesting. My stepmother sent me this. My stepmother she sent me the screenshot, and my dad wrote in our family chat, good feedback. In fact, I've never heard the word X used on its own before, except by Americans.
Hilarious. Oh, but she sent it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That is my stepmother's she's a beautiful soul. And so I think I'm going to say former boyfriends for all my boyfriends instead of ex-boyfriends now, or exes. But what's interesting?
I like that a lot.
What's interesting is that in the Chinese language, we say 前妻 or 前夫, which actually means former. 前 means former. 妻 means wife.
Oh,
former
interesting.
wife, former husband. So actually, that's what we use in China.
But it makes sense. Like, words hold so much weight.
Yeah.
So I really like that. I also love, I have to comment too, on just the fact that both of them are sending this to you like in a group chat. Like, it makes my heart really happy. I really love that. That's very sweet.
Yeah, they're
I love that.
They're my grounding people. Okay, guys, this was a pleasure. I love doing these little bonus episodes with you guys. Keep leaving questions, asking questions, whether they're through DMs or on the posts. Even if I don't respond to you directly, I'm choosing them and putting them in these episodes. And remember, no matter what life throws at you, with me in your ear, you got this. See you next Tuesday.